Directorate of Vigilance and Anti-Corruption carried out raids on properties belonging to former AIDMK Minister SP Velumani and his associates on Tuesday. The raids took place across 60 locations, including in Chennai and Coimbatore. The raids come a day after the DVAC registered an FIR against Velumani, his brother, and 15 others. The case pertains to alleged irregularities in the award of tenders in Chennai and Coimbatore corporations. Velumani, remember, was the municipal administration minister in the AIADMK government. AIADMK cadre and MLAs protested in Coimbatore following the raids. Take a look. I have with me Jairam Venkatesan of the Arupur Iyakam, which had filed the complaint back in 2018 accusing Velumani of corruption. Arupur Iyakam is a Chennai-based NGO that campaigns for transparent and accountable governance. It is based on Arupur Iyakam's complaint and that of DMK MP R.S. Bharti that the case has now been registered. Thank you for joining us today, Jairam. I got straight to the questions. I know you're a busy man today. It's been nearly 3 years since you filed that complaint against SP Velumani. Just explain the case to us.
Yeah, this is a complaint that we had filed in September of 2018 pertaining to, corruption in Chennai and Coimbatore Corporation tenders, where former Minister SP Velumani, when he was in charge of the municipal administration, had grossly misused his powers to allocate a lot of these Chennai and Coimbatore Corporation tenders to his own related parties, like his own relatives, blood brother, who is Mr. Anbarasan. We had provided proofs of almost 47 tenders where his own brother had competed with one other guy. Only those two people had participated in all these 47 tenders. And in each of these tenders, the issue was that they had uploaded the tenders to the same IP address. And both of them had same phone number according to the Coimbatore Corporation registered contractors list. So which means they are one and the same. So as a single tender, it's just a single tender which is prohibited by law. So violating the laws of the land, violating the Tender Transparency Act, such tenders were allocated even to his own brother. And there were other illegalities that were committed, where firms such as KCP Engineers Private Limited, which was owned by Chandrasekhar and Chandraprakash. So Chandrasekhar, being the right-hand man of Mr. Velumani, he was the printer and publisher of Namadamma. He was previously the Rural District Secretary of Coimbatore as well in the ADMK. So hundreds of crores of tenders were given to his company, and many of these tenders again violated the laws of the land. They were uploaded from the same IP address through related parties. KCP Engineers competed with its own director, Chandraprakash. KCP Engineers competed with mother of Chandraprakash, who owned Vardhan Infrastructure. Hundreds of crores of such tenders evidences were produced. Also, this led to the huge loss to the exchequer. Many of these tenders were awarded at much more than market rate. For example, road tenders were given where the top bitumen layers, the 40 mm layers, were given at 4.5 crores. Tender was given almost 7 crores. And such gross over quoting of tenders happened, and they were allocated to these people. So all these indicated very clearly that the former minister misused his power to not only award tenders but also enrich himself through his brothers and through his binamis and other ways. So therefore, according to the Prevention of Corruption Act, it is very clear that if any public servant misuses his power to to enrich themselves, to have pecuniary benefit in form of anything. So even tender is a pecuniary benefit. So through these, if they enrich themselves, then that is also corruption. So that is the sections under which they have been booked today in the FIR.
So there are 17 accused, including, of course, SP Velamani, who is accused number 1, his brother Anbarasan, and 15 others. The last accused is mentioned as unnamed officials of the Chennai and Coimbatore municipal corporations. Why is it that we don't know who these officials are? As in, what do you believe is the reason that the probe hasn't looked into it? Because this probe has been going on for some time.
Right. See, an FIR is generally FIR has to be done immediately after. But in this, what happened was that in 2018, end of 2018, when we filed the case to the High Court, and the case is still going on, in fact. And in that case, initially DVAC said they do not have any prima facie to proceed against the minister. The first mistake that they did was that first they did not even probe any official. They did not even probe, include these contractors in the investigation. Nothing they did. They just had put Mr. SP Velamani as the suspect person, and the preliminary inquiry was carried out only against him by the way. And that was, of course, kind of kept aside because when they even filed in the court said that the DVAC may have closed the case, but the court will not close the case. And there were arguments that were continuing. So until recently, so in fact, in the recent hearing last week that happened, the government said that in light of the recent CAG reports that has come, because the CAG reports had confirmed our allegations, and in light of that, they are ordering a re-inquiry. So the re-inquiry has just started. So as part of the re-inquiry, the first thing they have done is the registration of the FIR. So it is now the investigation that they have to look at which are all the officials who are involved in the in all these tenders, because again, as you say, why should they say unknown officials? They know for the officials involved in the tenders, they could do some homework and of course find it out as well. But I think there could be two reasons for it. One is there are a lot of tenders. So to actually find out who are all the officials who are involved in each of the tenders, they have to do a full-fledged investigation. And therefore, they wanted to do it after the FIR. That could be one reason. The other reason could also be that if they book some of these senior IAS officials and so on, then the case may hit a roadblock. So maybe, I don't know, it's just whether they are using that as reason, I don't know, but we have to wait and see. Only thing that I can see as of now is that because our complaint is very clear on 3 people. One is former Minister SP Velamani, the officials involved in it, and the contractors involved. So it's a conspiracy. It's not only conspiracy, there's a collusion of tenders amongst all these 3. And therefore, definitely FIR needs to be filed on all these 3 people as well. Hopefully, we think that an additional FIR may be filed in the future, listing the officials' name. We will continue to pursue and push the DVAC for doing so as well.
So the FIR has actually brought to light some very interesting facts that at least journalists and political observers didn't know about SP Velamani. The FIR mentions that SP Velamani was in fact a registered contractor of the Coimbatore Corporation for 10 years between 1991 and 2001. He in fact resigned from the firm that he had started with his family in 2001 when he was going to contest for elections. I just wanted to know. In fact, even the same firm has in fact now been named in the FIR. So, what do you have to say about this?
See, that shows that it is his own firm. The only reason he resigned from the firm was that because when you contest elections, he cannot have an office of profit, and therefore he had to resign in order to make sure that he doesn't show this firm and the tenders or contracts in these firms. And the firm continued to take tenders in Coimbatore Corporation right from in 2006, 2008, 2010, all along when he was MLA of Coimbatore region as well. And after 2014, what we have been able to document is that one, the value of tenders that has been given to the Sendil and Co. has increased. Number one. Number two, and it has been given to the firm violating the laws of the land. This is very, very crucial. It's not just, see, today it is owned by his own brother Anbarasan. Okay. And you also need to take into account that he has been in that firm as well until 2001. So therefore, it's a firm that is very close to him in that sense. So therefore, number one has conflict of interest. There's something called conflict of interest in the business rule, government business rules, which says that you can't act in conflict of interest. You can't give these tenders and all that to your own blood brother. So that is there. And in spite of giving to your own blood brother, what he has also done is that he has also violated the laws where this Sendil and Co. and Rajan Ratnaswamy competes in 47 tenders. They bid from the same IP address. So which means sitting at one place, they have bid for all these tenders. Most people have the same phone number registered in the corporation. With respect to the tender, the laws has also been violated, where Sendil and Co., what they have done is that in these 47 tenders, they are bid from the same IP address. They have share the same phone number with Rajan Ratnaswamy, which means they are one and the same. These are given as single tenders. So in the garb of competition, in the garb of showing that competition has happened, it's the same person showing as two, they have competed and given tenders. So this is against the Tender Transparency Act. This is fraud under the IPC sections. And this also amounts to corruption because the tender has enriched his own brother. So, there is this variety of, offenses that has been committed in doing so.
So the DVSC, like you mentioned, had given him a clean chit. And it was based on this report that the AIDMK government back in January 2020 said that they would not pursue any further action against him. The case, I mean, you had filed a petition in the Madras High Court this year, and it was based on that the Madras High Court then thereafter said that, investigation should perhaps reopen. So I just want to know, can you just explain to us what exactly happened in court in the last few months that has led to this reversal of the process?
Right. So what had happened in the High Court is that by January 2019, in fact 2020, the DVAC had said that, in fact, in February of 2020, they had informed the court that they have dropped the charges against the former minister and that they are going to close the case. And that is what they did in February of 2020. And at that point of time itself, the division bench said that you may have closed the case, but this court will continue to hear it. And after that, in September of 2020, when the division bench, because of the corona, there was some gap. And then in September of 2020, when the division bench again met, they had put up a framework for the hearing, where they said there are three possibilities that this case could take. One is that there could be a fresh preliminary inquiry that could be ordered. There could be a state asking for a state registration of a FIR as the petitioner, which is us who pleads it, or we could even accept the DVAC's contention, which is to close the case. So right, so these are the three options that the High Court Division Bench had put in an order dated September 2020, and the arguments continued thereafter. And right in February of 2021, the division bench said that there was argument from Minister S.P. Velumani's former Minister S.P. Velumani's side that there is election coming on, and therefore this whole hearing has to be put up after the election. And we were okay with it. We were ready for arguments. but they wanted it to be after the election, and we had said okay for it. And right after that, what happened in March was that former minister filed a contempt petition against us, saying that there was a bar that we should not talk against the minister as per some high court order. But unfortunately, there was no such bar, and therefore that contempt petition was thrown by the division bench, saying that this was frivolous. This is the frivolous petition filed by the former minister against us. And after that, after the election in June 2021, when the court again reassembled, when the court again heard this case, we had started our arguments. By that time, the CAG report had also come. So we had filed the CAG report as well, which reconfirmed our allegations. In fact, CAG report very clearly reconfirmed the kind of allegations that we have made, where we talk about overcoating of some components and undercoating of some components in the road tenders. And CAG had also observed the same in a sample of tenders that they did. So therefore, we had filed this also with the High Court, and the Advocate General in the High Court had said that in light of these new allegations, new evidences that are available through CAG report as well, they would like to, given that it matches with what Arabul Ekam, the petitioner, had been saying, we would like to re-inquire into this whole set of allegations. And the division bench observed that the division bench very clearly said that they should go to the depth of this whole complaint, whatever is being alleged, and whoever is involved in it, action needs to be taken against them. So that was the observation of the division bench. After which, we are seeing that the BBAC have taken up the re-inquiry, and as part of the re-inquiry, the first step that they've done is to register the FIR.
You spoke of loss to the exchequer. So how much of loss are we speaking about? And also, what are these tenders pertaining to?
See, the tenders pertain to wide-ranging works, which is road work, which is laying of bitumen roads, laying of concrete roads, and then laying of stormwater drains, construction of stormwater drains, and then solid waste management, where the displacing of solid waste from one place to the other. In the outsourcing of staff, such as nurses and doctors in the urban primary health care centers. So all these kinds of tenders are there in Chennai as well as Coimbatore Corporation. The quantum of these tenders in the FIR that they have put around 8 to 11 crores is what they have put together everything. And now, if you look at the amount of loss that has happened, there are specific tenders where we have given evidences of how much loss has happened. But if you look at the overall loss, that will be the outcome of this whole investigation. So as the investor, because you need to get all the records and exactly calculate what is the loss that has happened in each of the tender. We have given a sample of tenders where there are how losses has to be calculated, how losses has happened as well. What we would think is that the loss would be anywhere between 25 to 40% of the tender. So roughly that would be around 200 to 300 or 350 crores at the minimum. Maybe if today they are searching, they may find more tenders, they may find more illegalities, and as they find more and more, then they will be able to come up with the exact quantum of what is the loss that has happened to the exchequer out of these tenders.
So SP Velumani is by no means a lightweight. He's a very powerful leader, in the western region of Tamil Nadu especially, and he was a powerful minister in the Palanisamy government. So I just want to know, you spoke about the contempt of case petition that was filed against you. How difficult has it been for your organization to pursue this case? Do you face any threats or intimidation? What have been sort of the tactics, basically?
Yes, in fact, we faced a lot of problems just because of this case, I would say, because in September 2018, we filed this complaint, and in December 2018, we had filed the case with the High Court. So the case comes up for hearing in January 2019. Right after that, there were a series of things that happened against us. There were close to 18 civil defamation cases seeking a loss of, pursuing us for almost 1 crore rupees in each of these cases. So that were filed in the High Court. They had asked for interim injunction that we should not talk against any of these tender illegalities or corruption by the former minister and other contractors. In June 2019, all of these interim injunctions that they sought were dismissed by the High Court after we placed all the evidences before the High Court. Right after that, we faced a lot of threats from the police directly, where police filed almost a series of almost close to 10 FIRs, fake false FIRs were filed against us, just because we would not compromise on this case. In fact, the former commissioner, A. Krishnan, who was there, told me to go and meet Mr. Velumani. I refused to do so. And after that, we faced a series of cases, a series of FIRs. In fact, internal meetings, indoor meetings for us were rejected. Those mandapam owners were threatened not to give us halls for conducting even indoor meetings. And a couple of criminal defamation cases were filed against us after this. So we faced close to 30 civil and criminal defamation cases, a lot of abuses. All these things started happening right after filing of this case. And one thing which was very clear to us is, this complaint very clearly had a lot of evidences. We had done a very judicious work of collecting these evidences through RTI and other means. And therefore, we know one day the truth will come out, one day FIR will be filed on this, and we were hopeful of it. Fortunately, it has happened yesterday.
So a lot of people on social media today are talking about one of the apartment complexes that was raided, which is the 174 apartment, which is a very posh, apartment in Chennai. It's in the MRC Nagar. The FIR actually also mentions the growth trajectory of 10 of these companies and how they've witnessed massive growth in the last few years, especially when he was minister. So, what exactly do you have to say?
The growth has been tremendous. I would say that particularly if you are doing corporation contract work, what we have to understand is there is something called the bid capacity. The bid capacity means the corporation must look whether this contractor is in a position to do this work or not. What they do is there's a formula for doing it. They look at the previous year's turnover, maximum of it they take over the last 3 years. And then they have a formula to work out. So, for example, if it is for 6 months, they divide it by 2. And then they subtract all the pending works that this contractor is currently doing. So, in order to look at whether this contractor has a capacity to do the current tender value or not. So, by this formula, it is just not possible for any company to grow tremendously, which is to grow 5 times, 10 times just by doing corporation contracts in a year, because the tender eligibility criteria will not allow you to compete in such huge tenders at all. So the fact that these companies has grown multiple times, if you look at Vardhan Infrastructure, 1 year there will be 2 crores, next year 15 crores, and the next year 60 crores. Such growth is impossible given the formula of bid capacity and all that. So therefore, it is only through violation of the law of the land that this huge accumulation has happened, that this huge turnaround of their turnover has happened. And therefore, this massive growth that we are seeing, KCP engineers have grown from 1 year they were 59 lakhs, then 17 crores, then 42 crores, 100 crores, 160 crores. This was the kind of trajectory that we were seeing. So obviously, this was an effect of massive gross abuse of power by the former minister, and all these people deserve to get punishment under the Prevention of Corruption Act, and a very quick trial, and ensuring that these people are sent to jail is what will be a deterrent to other engineers, to other officials and other politicians as well, that if you do such corruption, then the law sooner or later will catch up with you.
Right. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Like you said, there should be a speedy trial to ensure that such cases do not happen in the future, and that it acts as a deterrent for other public officials. Thanks once again, Jairam Venkatesan. This is Anna Isaac for the News Minute.